highlight of that for me was meeting Barbara Windsor.
Welcome. We are Neil,
Luke and Dave.
340-somethings reminiscing on the runners and riders of 90s guitar music.
We look at the bands who soundtracked our youth on both sides of the pond and interview some of our heroes from the bands that defined a generation.
You'll hear about the good, the bad and the ugly of 90s guitar music.
This podcast is Stupid and Contagious. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Stupid and Contagious podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about all things Senseless Things. We've got a great interview with Ben Harding from the Senseless Things coming up. So, Luke, take it away.
All right, I'll just give a quick overview of the Senseless Things, just in case there's anyone listening that is not too familiar. Basically, they were, I describe them as like pop punk indie rock. Is that a fair description?
I think that's a fair description.
Okay. Band. They ran from 1986 to 1995. 86, yeah. Yeah. So started in 86 in Twickenham by Mark Kedge, the singer, and Morgan Nichols and Cass Brown. Although Mark and Morgan had actually been in bands since like 1981 when they were 11 or something like that. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, something like that. So by the time it was 1986, they were like 15, and
still young.
Kind of still super young, right? And they got the Senseless Things together. Today's guest, Ben Harding on guitar, joined a year later in 1987. And as he talks about in the interview, he was like a good 5 or 6 years older than them at the time, which is still pretty young. He was only like 21.
Yeah, right.
They got going and spent a few years basically touring again and again and again all around the UK, as you'll hear in the interview, and just slowly building up a loyal following. Released their debut album, Postcard CV, in 1989. Great records. Yeah.
It is a great record.
Big song after that, Too Much Kissing, became a bit of a hit. In 1991, they signed to major label Epic, released their second album, the first of too many.
Yeah.
As you can see, got the iconic artwork from Jamie Hewlett on it. They did all the Tank Girl stuff. Just looks great.
Yeah.
They also, around this time, they started to have like hits. They had 2 top 20 hits, basically.
Yeah, they did on Top of the Pops a couple of times, right?
Yeah. Hold It Down and Easy to Smile played Top of the Pops. Again, Ben talks a little bit about it in the interview. They were also touring with amazing bands, Nirvana, Blur, etc. Just like, just amazing stuff. Fast forward a couple of years, his third album, Empire of the Senseless, was released.
An amazing album.
Started to get a little bit political.
I remember going and buying that on my 16th birthday, I think. I don't know. No, maybe not. 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah. On cassette, obviously.
So a bit of a delayed reaction. But when did they tour with Nirvana? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was a full tour, but they supported them, at least once. About around like 92, 93.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, 92, I think. Yeah. So tracks like Homophobic Asshole, Anti-Homophobia, Anthem, of course. There was Primary Instinct as well, which my head
great
is
tune, political,
great tune,
good stuff.
Anti-racist kind of political song. But they were still managing to keep the pop hooks in there. It's just really, really good stuff. They broke up in 95, and basically various members went on to do loads and loads of different things.
They released one more album before they broke up, didn't they?
They did. Yeah. It's called Taking Care of Business.
Yeah,
sorry,
it's a good album. No, that's all right. But I think it's worth mentioning in case people want to go and check that out, because it's a good album. Really good album.
So today's interview guest, Ben, he joined Three Colours Red, had massive chart success, played Wembley Stadium. Yeah. Morgan released a really great solo album called Organized, which I really liked at the time. And
Shouldn't
now
it have
he
been
plays...
called Morganized?
Yeah, it should have done. Yeah. Maybe it was. Now I'm thinking about it. I think it was just Organized. Or I think that he was called M. Morgan, I think.
Right.
But now he plays with Muse as part of Muse's kind of live.
Yeah, he
setup.
does loads of live stuff, doesn't he? Touring bands.
Yeah. Cass formed Della Cota, who I really liked as well. I think Morgan was in them as well for a little bit.
Yeah.
And he's also worked extensively with Gorillaz for many years as well.
That's right. Yeah.
And the singer, Mark, he had a load of good bands, including excellent Jolt, this excellent mini album there. And then in recent years, a band called Dead Cuts.
Oh, Dead Cuts, a great band. Great band. People should definitely go and check them out.
Yeah.
He was still making great music.
Yeah, well, and he sadly died in 2021, aged only 50 years old. So that's the story of the Senseless Things. Dave, any questions?
Do you remember the Senseless Things at the time, Dave?
Yeah, I do. I mean, they were a band that my friends liked, but I did, listen to them.
That's us, right?
A fair bit. Yeah, that's you. It's nice to listen to them again. A great band, really good songs. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the interview.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Senseless Things really... Well, it was first gig I went to, so...
Well, this is the reason we've chosen the Senseless Things to be like the first interview episode, is because of this, right?
Yeah. I think he got everything started, for me especially. Like, when the 90s come around, I was listening to stuff like Def Leppard, which, I'm not ashamed of. I still think Def Leppard are a great band, especially their early stuff. But yeah,
the drummer had one arm. Is that true?
Drummer had one arm. He got it ripped off in a rock and roll car accident.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. But anyway, this isn't about Def Leppard. But yeah, I kind of didn't really. I was still sort of discovering music at the time. And then this gig came along. I didn't really know who Senseless Things were. I have to say, I didn't really know much about them. The gig come up. I think me and Luke were just looking for a gig to go to, and that came up, and we went. And then before we went, we binged on Senseless Things stuff, found First of Too Many, Postcards TV, and then, bang.
So it was that random? You hadn't been listening to him before you booked?
Well, Luke may have been, but I hadn't really, no. I think we just picked a gig. Is that right?
Sounds about right. I can't.
That's how I remember it.
I hadn't thought about it. Now you say it. That sounds right. To be honest,
that's how I remember it. I think we just wanted to go to a gig.
We were 14 basically, so you don't know a lot about music when you're 14, And the gig was at the East Wing of the Brighton Centre.
That's right.
And I hadn't remembered at all, but Neil remembered that Ride were playing in the real Brighton Centre on the same.
Remember it vividly. It was between them two, and that Ride were more expensive. And I think we just went. No
it's got to be a fork in the road moment, man.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I really like
really
Ride.
got into that scene.
I like Ride, but you made a good choice because you'd have never seen them otherwise.
Yeah, but then we didn't get to see Ride, and that would have been good too. So.
Yeah, but if we'd have seen Ride that night, we might have then gone into listening to more shoegazy stuff and getting into My Bloody Valentine and Chapter House and the Sun, all this kind of stuff.
I mean,
which we didn't.
For a first gig, seeing the Senseless Thing live in quite an intimate venue, it was pretty mental.
Yeah, definitely the right choice.
And Leatherface supported them, another great band.
Amazing.
I mean, they came on and we didn't know. This is our first gig. Leatherface came on and we just didn't know really what was going on. It was just nuts.
Yeah. We thought they were roadies, basically.
Leatherface, yeah.
Yeah. And then they fucking rocked out, man. They're like pure punk rock. Just
and we thought, well, this is amazing. And then the Senseless Things come on and they were even better. And it was just like,
Yeah.
It was just
and I remember there was this scary, drunk, crusty bloke that was sitting on the floor. Do you remember him, Neil?
I do remember.
And he was kind of trying to grab people's legs and stuff. And I think he was targeting us because we were really small and weak, basically.
Yeah.
And young. And
just good times.
We talk about it in the interview, but it was the first time to get served at a bar as well, which means it's like a pivotal moment in our life.
Yeah, massive moment, isn't it?
Unbelievable. especially the fact that I mean, we're 14. Well, Neil probably didn't. I looked about 11.
No, we didn't look older. There was no way that we were 18. So
I was tiny, and I looked it, and I looked so young. It's ridiculous that I got served a pint of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should retrospectively go and get them for that.
But no, great gig. I mean, Mark's voice, incredible. You know, Morgan's bass playing, Ben's guitar, well, Cass drum, all of it. They were just such a great band, and for that to be your first sort of introduction to music.
Yeah, especially, I mean, they were a great live band as well, right?
Yeah.
They really had that.
Yeah, at that point, they were playing like hundreds of gigs a year, so, you know.
I mean, what was the vibe like, the atmosphere? Was there like crowd surfing type thing going on, or just a lot of...
I think so, yeah.
Jumping.
I mean, I can't really...
mental, yeah.
It's only a small venue. I can't really remember...
Must have been hot in there.
But yeah, it was moshy.
It was moshy. I remember I wore a white T-shirt. I for some reason, I thought it would like absorb the sweat without showing. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought, no, it was just like, there was like this mythical idea of the mosh pit, which I'd only read about in the NME, and it was like this terrifying but exciting idea. For some reason, I decided I needed to wear a white T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's not a cool thing to do.
No.
Did you get quite close to the front?
Yeah, I think we were pretty close.
Away because you were small.
No, I think we embraced it. We were,
Yeah, I mean, there's no barrier or anything because it's such a small venue.
No,
right?
I can't. Bits of that are a bit jaded, but I just remembered it being an incredible sight for young teenagers to watch. And ever since then, huge fans. We saw them support the Lemonheads at the Brixton Academy. I don't even remember that.
I don't remember. Really?
Yeah. We went to see the Lemonheads.
I didn't
we went to see the Lemonheads, and then the Senseless Things got added as a support.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they were great there too. And I personally was probably the same for Luke, but after that, it's just a massive fan at each album.
Not only that, it got us into loads of other stuff as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they ever say they never got the success they deserve, but they did have good success. But I think you want your favourite band to be like everyone's favourite band, I guess. But I guess that's part of the beauty.
I think they got the good balance right. You don't want to. Well, I don't, because I'm an indie snob. I don't want them to be too famous.
Yeah, I get that. In that
I want
respect,
them to stay mine, but I want them to do well. So they got a good balance, I reckon.
They're definitely sort of well respected amongst their peers, and still got thousands of loyal fans. So that says something.
Yeah, and I think a big part of the appeal for me as well was Mark Kidd. He just looked cool as fuck, right?
He looked cool, and that voice is still one of the most distinctive voices in rock, I say. And
as a short, skinny, slight guy, it was good to see a short, skinny, slight bloke up on stage looking cool as fuck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He epitomised cool at the time, I think. Didn't ever speak to him in the flesh, unfortunately, but apparently just a really nice guy. So,
well, let's just jump into that interview then with Ben Harding.
All right, hi Ben. So thanks so much for coming on our podcast. How's things your end at the moment?
Fine, thanks a lot. Very busy, but absolutely fine, thank you.
Busy with guitar stuff, or?
Well, busy with work stuff. I fit the guitaring in when I can these days. It's not so much of a job these days, but it's
still a passion, though.
And it's still a passion. I love it.
That's it.
How often do you manage to get out and do gigs and stuff?
Oh, I guess we play about every month or so, once or twice a month on average. I mean, normally we hire out a venue and put our mates on, and our mates come and see us. So it's an excellent way of having a relatively loud social life.
Yeah. Fair dues.
Gets us out of the house.
That's
we all have kind of other responsibilities these days. Jobs and kids and all the rest of it. So
we're all in the same boat, unfortunately. Well, fortunately and unfortunately,
and make a living. It's good. It makes a change from when I was in bands, but. But no, I mean my band at the moment is called the Charlemagnes. The whole idea is basically to do proto-punk, so we're kind of the ghost of an imaginary proto-punk band from the east coast of the States in about 1966 to 68.
Right.
And we've got
very specific.
It is, and we've got an entirely fabricated but very, very funny backstory.
Yeah.
Come on, well, I've got to hear it now. Come on, I've got to hear it now.
No, well, I mean, it's really long. I mean, how long have you got? And you'd have to do a separate podcast for it, I think.
Okay.
But we've printed it in full on the back of our new single, of which, as far as I know, there are only 12 physical copies, lathe cut.
Right.
It's a magnificent piece of stuff, actually. But like I say, a very rare beast indeed. But it's all printed on the back of that.
Nice.
I think it may be. I can't recall, but I think it may be on the Bandcamp site. So if you
we'll have a look.
Yeah, definitely.
I know a lot of bands are doing lathe cut these days to get around the pressing plant delays. Is it anything to do with that, or is it just to make a rare record?
No, it was pure egotism, I think.
Why not?
And also the woman who runs the lathe cut company is fabulous, and following her on Facebook, and it's a labor of love, but I mean, this thing is really thick. It's as thick as an old 78.
Nice.
I'm very impressed with it. It's lovely.
Yeah, it's always nice.
As a vinyl nerd, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, look at his collection.
I know, that's amazing. I mean, I've got a similar collection, but I don't have a working turntable, and haven't for years.
Yeah. He does.
It's half of it. It's half of it. But,
yeah. Well, mine's not that impressive then. But I've got all of those ones on the back.
Oh, well, we'd hope so.
I've got a couple missing, but I'm working on it.
Cool.
Okay, so we're hopefully mainly talking about the Senseless Things. So can you tell us a bit about how you came to join the Senseless Things?
How it all came about.
Wow, that is ancient history. I mean,
were you in other bands at the time, or?
Kind of, yeah. I was in a band back then called the Rick Burners. Now this is going back a long way, and memories are a bit kind of hazy. The Rick Burners they were all from Cornwall except me.
Right.
But they were all living in London.
Yeah.
Lovely bunch of guys. It was much more kind of indie, because that was in the kind of the kind of mid 80s.
Yeah.
So the whole C86 thing was going on.
Yeah, I was going to say you got that kind of. Yeah.
We would kind of fitted into that kind of scene, I guess. So but there was me with my heavy metal guitar, and there was the other guitarist with his gold Strat.
Yeah.
And kind of quite a kind of charismatic singer, and very melodic. I didn't kind of quite fit in. And we had a kind of fairly checkered gig history. Our first proper gig, I remember, was at the old Tunnel Club just south of the Blackwall Tunnel.
Right.
Kind of an old stinky pub,
Yeah.
And we were about to go on, and we got on stage and kind of got ourselves ready. Our drummer leaned over to put his fag out in an ashtray he'd found on the bar.
Oh yeah, because you could smoke in pubs, right?
Yeah, you could, but unbeknownst to him, the heavy metal band the night before, one of their flash pots hadn't gone off.
Right.
So what they'd done, for some insane reason, was to empty out the residue into this ashtray. So we were about to go on, massive green flash.
Rock and roll.
Smoke everywhere.
Pyrotechnics.
Wow. I was going, wow, I didn't know we booked any pyros. First gig, I was a bit much for 20 people at the Tunnel Club, Poor Gary. Right,
really overstated entrance.
Well, yeah, well, poor Gary staggered out from behind his drum kit with his hair all blown back, a green face, and half the skin on his arm hanging off.
Not ideal for a drummer, is it?
At which point, no, it was like we were all in shock. I was particularly in shock. And anyway, people leapt into action, called an ambulance. And of course, my first question was, can we still do the gig?
Yeah.
Right.
I was so hyped up and ready
rock
to
and
go.
roll, come on.
No,
it's just a surface wound, you'll be all right.
Yeah. So that didn't really go anywhere. I think our most successful time was we did a mini tour of Cornwall where we stayed with.
I love Cornwall, so
yeah, well, same. But we stayed with the other guitarist's mum.
Yeah.
And she fed us massive breakfast every morning, and she grew her own guitarist out the back in her
right, yeah.
And so each of us would be given a little backy tin of homegrown.
Oh, nice.
Hence, I don't remember much of it. What I do remember was coming back to London on the back of a motorbike.
From Cornwall?
Yeah.
That's a long trek on a motorbike.
Non-stop. And it was the first time I'd ever been on a motorbike. Can you imagine?
Well, that is a baptism
up the A303 at 70 miles an hour. That was really hairy. Anyway.
Yeah.
Go on, memories.
Yeah, that's it. So when did you...
meeting Senseless Things. Well, it was really through my brother. Now, my brother was in a band called the Milk Monitors back in the day.
Right.
Nice, they were doing all right for themselves at the time. I can't remember if they had the Peel session first or we did, but in any case, I mean, they got to the point where they could kind of get a Peel session, and they put a couple of records out. And he was at Richmond College, and he was in that circle of friends. Jake's 3 years younger than me.
Right.
So I wasn't in a band at the time, and kind of didn't really kind of just playing guitar in my bedroom, not really knowing what I was going to do with myself.
Yeah.
And the rest of Senseless Things, they were only 14 and 15 at the time.
Right.
But they were all also part of that group of friends. But I think they had a bit of a lineup change, and they found out through Jake, I think, that I was available.
Played a bit of guitar,
so to speak, and someone must have vouched for me. And I knew quite a few people in the same social circle.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't remember, but I guess we got together, played a couple of times, and then that was kind of it.
Yeah.
And what a lovely bunch of chaps they were, little tearaways, absolutely little tearaways. But a lot of talent.
Was it mainly sort of around the Twickenham area that you sort of did?
Yeah, I lived in Chiswick. The rest of the guys were all in and around Twickenham or Richmond.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of West London scene. So we were all kind of hanging out at the same place. We'd all go to the Hammersmith Clarendon for smaller gigs or bigger ones upstairs.
So how did it sort of start taking off for you guys? Like when was like the?
It was really down to Mark, a lot of it, because he was absolutely focused. He was a big believer in, it's not going to come to you. You've got to go and get it. Mm. And he was remarkably prolific in terms of songwriting. We soon got into the habit of doing at least one new song each rehearsal.
Oh, crazy.
So there was a lot of churn. We didn't have anything else to do that way. I mean, no one was paying attention. I was working. But as for the other three, I think, and Morgan kind of stayed at school and did his exams and what have you. But the other two were basically hanging out, and Mark was just writing, all the time. He was writing lyrics, he was writing music, and he was learning
to make it happen no matter what sort of thing. Right.
Yeah, and we rehearsed cheaply. We had a scuzzy kind of room we used to go to and just knock this stuff out. But it was the same with getting gigs, because the only way we were going to get better and kind of really hone it all was just playing as many gigs as we could.
Yeah, right.
And we just loved it, and it was our only thing, if you see what I mean. So,
I think that
all of our time could go into it.
I think that came across in your live shows, certainly when we come to see you. It's just
So actually, you are our inaugural guest on the podcast, and the reason.
Amazing.
Well, the reason we wanted to speak to you is because it's because the first gig we ever went to together, me and Neil, we were 14 years old, and it was the Senseless Things at the annex at the Brighton Centre.
Oh,
and
see, I don't remember it. Of course,
but Ride were playing in the other room. Ride were playing in the big room,
in the main Brighton Centre, and Leatherface was supporting. And but by this time it was like 90, 91, I guess. How old are we? Well, we must have been around then. And you were already playing Top of the Pops and top 20 kind of hits. I mean, did you know? Was there a difference, like when 14-year-old kids like us started coming to your shows? Did you notice it?
No, because it was always 14-year-old kids coming to the shows. You know, it started out being our mates. You know. And
if they were only 16 and 17 anyway, right? Yeah.
Well, less, 15, 16. And of course, you know, the first few kind of key shows were at places like St Mary's in Twickenham, the college, you know, and you know, local educational establishments. We did a few of those, and local small gigs. Where, you know, back in the day, you could get into gigs if you were a bit younger than 18. They weren't all 18 and over. They weren't all like.
Well, we found
it was our first time to get served a pint. Senseless Things.
We found it pretty easy.
I think we might have accounted for a lot of people's firsts back in the day. You know, it was like
never forget it.
First everything, but it's also, that was the nature of the music as well. It was about relationships.
But just remember,
write what you know.
Yeah, the gig was insane. I think it really sort of, as our first gig,
it set a high benchmark.
It really did. Not just blowing smoke up your ass, but it was like really high energy the whole way through, and it was crazy.
You can tell that you meant it. Yeah.
And the crowd were insane as well.
Yeah, we had excellent role models. You know, I mean, the time you're talking about, we would still have been doing upwards of 200 gigs a year.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a spreadsheet somewhere.
Yeah.
Which bless him, some guy on the Senseless Things Facebook group, he pulled that together from all of the information he could get, including, you know, input from other people on the group, and it's incredibly comprehensive and just, it's brilliant to look at it, you know. But as I say, I barely remember much of it.
Did you, when you got into the Senseless Things, did you think, wow, this is great stuff, you know, we can really go somewhere with this? Straight away.
Well, it kind of develops over time, you know, because you're always operating within your own capacity as an individual and as a band. So you think, you've always got ambition, of course, and every step is an incremental step, and you know, your expectations just kind of keep rising along with your reputation, but it's a reputation you've got to earn, so you have to go out and get it. I think the real kind of upside for us was that not many people were doing that at the time. You know, there's like going out and just playing as much as you possibly could and putting up with really crappy conditions in order to do it. Like we would sleep anywhere. We would get to places by hook or by crook. You know, it was really basic. It was really basic and really uncomfortable.
It's interesting. That's like the American punk model, right? Of just touring non-stop and going to the same town again and again, and every time you come back, there's 10 more people in the audience.
But we were following bands like that. And their stories, The American hardcore scene was so crucial for us in the beginning.
I'm a big fan of it. So
yeah. We loved Dag Nasty, and we loved the Descendants, and we loved Minor Threat, and we loved all of that stuff. You know, and that was crucial, and that was the model. You know, and we applied it in the UK, and we just went out and we played, and it was word of mouth, and we showed we could bring people. So the more people we brought, the more we were invited back, and so on and so on and so forth. And then, of course, other bands started doing the same thing, and Mega City 4 were doing the same thing at the same time.
I was going to say about the Megas.
Wiz was a role model for Mark in terms of how you run fan relations, you know, write to people, have the fan club, run it personally, make the effort. And so, you know, the whole kind of setup engendered loyalty from the fans. And it was a real kind of gang sensation. And crucially to all of that, the other thing we took from the American hardcore thing was, we are equal to you. We are not different. We are not better. We are equal. We are all the same. And this is our
This is a big gang. This is our gang, and we're all in it.
We're not showing you anything. We're reflecting you back at yourselves.
So it works. We're still loyal 30 years later.
Well,
it worked, right?
It's still got a loyal fan base.
That's what I love about the Facebook group, because you know, it's unconditional, and that's what I really love about it.
Well,
and what it was always like.
And what I noticed from that group is you're always chipping in there and stuff. You know, a lot of bands you have a group, but you never hear from the actual bands, but you're always quite active on there.
No, I think it's essential. I wish it had been around in the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah,
you know. Because it's I absolutely love it, you know, because it's a shared experience, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And there's absolutely no reason why I wouldn't participate in that. I love it.
Yeah, no, good. I'm glad you do. It comes across.
Do you think that American influence came through in your sound as well? Because there wasn't much of a crossover between the American and the UK bands at the time, but the Senseless Things seemed to have a bit of a transatlantic kind of thing going on. Was that from your influences?
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like the Descendants, for example, we covered Descendants. We covered Marriage, and when we play it, it sounds like a Senseless Things song. You know, it could have been written for us. And no, absolutely. Yeah, we nicked it. You know, it's like we always believed in the adage, talent borrows, genius steals. So you know, we kind of raised ourselves up to follow that. And there's nothing wrong with wearing your influences on.
No, of course not. No.
Because at the end of the day, what you write is always going to be yours, unless you lift something. Absolutely. You know, but I was constantly kind of nicking bits for guitar solos and what have you. You may not notice them, but I know they're there. You know, I know who or what influenced it, and they're weird things sometimes, like a bit of King Crimson that I really like. You know, which I thought, well, you know, it's a sequence of notes. I'll play it differently. But no, absolutely, we, you know, and you know, fairly soon, bands like the Replacements and Soul Asylum. I mean, those are the ones you can really hear in Mark's writing, particularly around 1991.
I hadn't thought about Soul Asylum, but now you say it.
Right. Well, you know, have a look at Dave Perner and Mark Heads from that period.
They got the hair going on.
For sure.
And almost the same T-shirt and the same cardigan.
Right, now you say it.
Jeans. You know, I mean, it's there if you want to see it.
Yeah.
And you played with quite a few of the kind of the grunge bands as well. I mean, how was that? Those kind of tours.
Well, you know, Nirvana are the band that killed Senseless Things.
Right.
You know,
go on. Why did you say that?
Well, because they came along and our scene completely died.
Right.
All of a sudden, you know, although the whole grunge thing was bands who came along following on from that previous lot, the Replacements and Soul Asylum, Husker Du, etc., etc.
Yeah,
they were a new thing, and so it was a new scene, and so we were part of the old guard.
Right.
The music papers moved on.
Yeah.
So and I mean, we were running into trouble with our record company at the time. In any case, thanks to my proudest moment in Senseless Things, Homophobic Asshole.
I was going to ask about that.
We've got a question.
We'll talk about it.
I've got a question about that.
Yeah,
so you got co-writing credit on it. Yeah,
I did. But we'll come back to that. But Nirvana, we loved Nirvana. We had the same publicist as them. Chap called Anton Brooks at Bad Moon.
Yeah.
And so we all had cassettes of Nevermind 2 months before it came out.
Yeah.
And I would play that to anyone who would listen and go. Did
you think like, shit, this is really going to change?
Listen to this.
Yeah.
No, yes and no. I thought this is really going to change things. Nirvana are going to be massive because this is amazing. And we all knew Bleach, of course. But then Nevermind was just mind-blowing.
Next level, right?
And we loved it, absolutely loved it. It wasn't off the tape deck in the van for months.
Yeah.
And and I would play it to anyone who would be around my place and say, just listen to this. This is going to blow your head off. And everybody reacted the same way. So, you know, and Nirvana sent out a lot of those. Seriously, everybody had a tape. Everyone in the industry had a tape of that before it went live. So everyone was talking about it, and it just went huge. But like I say, that was then. It's a new thing. You've got to be American. You've got to be part of that crew. And so, like I say, all of our support systems just evaporated in terms of the industry.
People moved on.
And of course, record companies were looking for the next thing. And so, what happens if you don't happen to sell 1 million copies, like us, is your record company then forecloses on your deal. And is that
Epic Records?
But we were kind of hacked off by that point anyway. You know, our relationship with Epic had deteriorated quite badly, and we were kind of not, you know, it wasn't really a working relationship. So that happened, and I think we were trying to get dropped.
Were they trying to get too involved in your music? Was it? Or
no, not really. But the commercial pressures of it were starting to tell on us.
Right.
You know, and I think Mark certainly wasn't happy with the kind of relationship we had with them. We were not the most cooperative band in the world, I'll give you that. But to give them their due, you know, we had creative control. You know, they didn't insist on remixes. They didn't tell us how to make an album. But obviously we butted heads over certain releases. And you know, understandably from their point of view, how can you realistically as a kind of record company operating in the kind of the kind of, what's the word I want, the world then, realistically, you know, you're looking at how the hell do we promote a single called Homophobic Asshole? You know,
can we get back to that now? So
let's go on.
How are we going to get radio play for it?
Neil had the T-shirt.
I did.
Homophobic Asshole T-shirt.
I did have that T-shirt.
One of my
for a
favorite
long
songs.
time.
Can you tell us a bit about writing it and what it means to you?
As far as writing it, I get my writing credit on that. I think it's one. I think it's my only writing credit in such things. Named writing credit. We had a relatively equitable kind of setup when it came to kind of sharing, publishing and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I think that's that is either one of or my only writing credit. And that's because I wrote the riff. Basically, I wrote the main riff in the chords sequence. And I have no idea where that came from, but it just did, and I loved it. It's still my proudest moment. Mark wanted something which was really heavy, and he wanted something which was really driving, and I just came up with it. I think I just came up with it in the rehearsal studio.
But he already had the lyrics and everything down, did he?
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, why do you? I mean, obviously the title, it's going to be a little bit controversial, but was it really that big a deal? Was it for the record label?
It is when your record company wants to get you in the top 20.
Yeah.
Because singles are a loss leader.
Yeah.
For a record company, basically, they cost them money. They don't make money unless they sell millions.
Yeah.
And especially back then when formats were important as well. They had to spend a lot of money to get a single in shops.
But what's interesting is that single is amongst the fans. It's one of it's a fan favorite. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. But that means nothing.
To them,
a record company. Because to have a successful single, you've got to go way beyond the fan base.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I mean, in a sense, we were lucky when we were kind of first getting into the charts, because actually at that time you didn't have to sell that many singles to get into the charts. Which is why when you watch Top of the Pops from those days, you see a lot of actually quite left field.
Absolutely. We were going to ask you a bit about Top of the Pops. Did you play live on Top of the Pops, or was it?
That's a really good question. No, I think that was the period, the time where Mark had to sing live.
Right, but the rest of it was...
That was the policy, right?
Live, but the backing track was mine.
Yeah. Was that weird, or...?
You can probably tell just by listening to it. If the music sounds exactly the same as
then it's the
record. With Three Colours Red, my second band, we had to play live on Top of the Pops. Because we were a really good band. But no, I think highlight of that for me was meeting Barbara Windsor on the EastEnders.
Didn't expect
in the
that
BBC
one,
club afterwards.
Wow.
Well, because it was at L Street, you see, so the EastEnders was just in the next building, and there was a bar between them, and everybody went over to the bar.
So that was your highlight, meeting Barbara Windsor.
Yeah, she caged a fag off me outside.
Right.
She was lovely. Yeah.
Can you remember which other bands were playing on Top of the Pops that night?
Blue Pearl.
Blue Pearl, remember that?
Oh, Naked in the Rain, is that right?
Naked in the Rain, yeah, something like that.
Was it Naked in the Rain? Yes, it probably was. Right? Yeah, and that was the one where I think it was it Head Cleaner would be in their backing band, or one of those industrial, one of those industrial bands.
Yeah,
kind of on a couple of oil cans bashing away in the background. Otherwise, no. Again, memories are. You're there and you're gone. It's a flash and you're off to the next thing. But
it's a pretty cool thing to do, though, right?
Yeah, no, I just loved it. Of course, you grow up with Top of the Pops. That's the kind of extent of your ambition, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you think, all right, so what's the next one? I know, playing Wembley Stadium. I've done that as well. So what do I do now?
When did you play Wembley Stadium?
Oh, that was a Three Colours Red.
Right, that's cool.
We opened up for Aerosmith at the Toxic Twin Towers at the old Wembley Stadium.
Amazing,
that was amazing. That was 70,000 people.
Yeah. Although, but then Senseless Things played Reading Festival, didn't they?
Yeah.
And that must have been pretty big.
A couple of times.
Yeah.
Two times, 3 times. Can't remember.
Yeah, that must have been.
I do apologise for my memory. I've got friends to remind me of stuff I did.
Oh, good.
My friend Chris Fox, who was in a band called the Hysterics back in the day.
Right.
He remembers so much more about my band than I do.
But that's what's good about the Facebook group, I guess.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
the collective memory.
Yeah, that's it.
Also, I wanted to ask about. So, I'm based in Japan, which is why it's nighttime here. How was it going out to Japan back then?
That was brilliant. That was the best thing any of us have ever done.
Right.
Wow.
It was amazing. I mean, we had no clue. So we got flown over by Sony. We didn't know they had plans. They had plans.
Oh yeah.
And the plans were, they got us onto like first night we were there, we were still jet lagged. They got us onto a TV show. Of course, we did not understand a single thing that was going on. And this show was called ICA 10, right? Now, ICA 10 turns out was the equivalent back then of something like Opportunity Knocks or something like Britain's Got Talent, you know.
Talent show.
Yeah, and it was a massive talent show. Purely for musicians, I think. And we didn't realize that millions of people were watching.
Right.
So the next day, obviously, Cass and I think it was Cass and Morgan went out to buy some caffeine chewing gum or John Cola or something. And people were recognizing them on the street.
Right.
I mean, we were pretty wearing the same clothes, probably. You know, we were pretty distinctive looking back then. And they went, what's happening? So anyway, next thing you know, all these little club gigs that we were booked to play in suddenly got bumped up.
Right.
Not only were they ran, but they got bumped up to the next level of venue.
Right.
So it was a really successful tour. We were there for just over a week, and it was an absolute whirlwind. You know, I mean, you live in Japan, Luke, so you know what Japanese fans are like. If a Japanese person decides they like you as a band, they're going to be everywhere you are.
Right.
So you know, there was a coterie of mostly young women who would be outside the hotel when we left. They'd be saying, you know, waving us off in the van, and by the time we got to wherever it was we were going, they were already there. I have no idea how they did it, but they did it. You know,
that's cool.
It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
and, you know, we were just getting presents, and you know, whenever we got food, our tour manager and translator Patricia, bless her, she was wonderful. She said, "This is great. Don't eat any of the food."
All right. Yeah.
You literally don't know what they've put in it, and there is a weird Japanese tradition of poisoning your idols.
Really?
Wow.
Is that true?
I don't know.
I don't know if that's true or not. You know, but it was. You know, I think she was probably just trying to put the wind up us a bit. She said, be careful. But I kind of got what she meant. But it was amazing. The gigs were brilliant. Oh, we did a weird one with Sultans of Ping FC.
Right, Sultans of Ping,
which was great. Yeah. They were massive. You know, they were headlining that one.
Oh, really?
Wow. In Japan,
they were big. They were
yeah.
Time, weren't they?
Huh.
Yeah, and you can kind of see why. You know, skinny white boy.
Kind
of thing, which kind of went down well with everybody at the time in Japan. So it was good time.
The artwork with Jamie Hewlett, how did that all come about? Because it's quite iconic, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. I mean, that came about because Jamie and Cass is going to kill me. I can't remember his writing partner at the time. Anyway, Alan. Anyway, basically, you remember Deadline comic? I mean,
absolutely.
We love Tank Girl.
Tank Girl, loved it. Yeah.
But basically, what they used to do is each month or each issue, in the Tank Girl strip, they would write what their soundtrack was. You know, just kind of between the frames, they go soundtrack things. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And one week it was too much. Was I can't remember what it was, but it was something. Senseless Things. Some girlfriend. Senseless Things.
Right.
So basically, we approached Jamie and said, "Well, can we use some of your artwork for a single, which was Too Much Kissing?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah, no, that'd be great." So that was the start of the friendship, and he ended up designing several
Oh, I mean, it's amazing.
Covers for
it's amazing.
And that was great, because I thought it really kind of captured the spirit of the band.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it really does.
You know, because we were a bit cartoony, and you know, I loved the fact that most of the artwork he did for us features women.
Yeah,
you know, because I think, and I've been reading over old kind of NMEs and melody makers and stuff, because I've got, you know, there's a friend in the Senseless Things Facebook group who reproduces whole issues of those papers, the inkies from back then, and you know, we banged on quite a lot about being in touch with our feminine sides,
right? Yeah,
you know, and it was about, you know, I will say to the death we were a feminist band. I'd say we were a kind of left-leaning, politically aware band, but kind of a bit wary about overdoing it, at least at first.
Yeah.
You also wrote about like male friendship and stuff, right? Which people just did not do back then, right? That kind of showing that male vulnerability, and it's just amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and emotion, you know.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Well, you know, but outside the kind of cliched version of it, but the reality, the day-to-day, the kind of the banality of love, if you like. But Mark had a real talent for that, and he was really keen to talk about it. But I think we all were. You know, obviously it's all in context at the time. You know, the late 80s and early 90s is different from how things are today. But if you put homophobic arsehole into that context, I mean, I think Section 28 was still going, and you know, but we all had gay friends. We all had people who identified differently, although we use different terms for it these days, and it's been turned into a stick to beat people with. You know, we knew people like that. We were all outsiders, you know. And so you had to create your own culture, and that was always a really crucial thread in what Mark was writing about, you know.
I know, it's like, also, you know, like on the Primary Instinct single, you got like the anti-fascist, you got the address of the anti-Nazi League on the back, right?
Yeah, damn right.
I mean, that's
exactly.
I mean,
so you know, if
it's very current now as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Primary Instinct video again, it's like it's about multiculturalism. You know, that's political. Homophobic arsehole was political. You know, I mean, we were feeling very strongly about things by that point. Epic really didn't like it. But they understood it was something we had to do. It was something we had to do. We're not singing about love anymore. We're singing about hate.
I think if you've got a bit of a platform, you have to use it, don't you, to do good.
I think at least subconsciously that we were very much thinking that at the time. It was important to us. And we wanted to. There are points we wanted to make.
And you made them very well.
I mean,
we won't keep you much longer. We're going.
No, that's all right. I'm loving this.
Good.
But we had a T-shirt which was kind of never again, Ni vida fascismus, you know, nor fascism all the way down the front in various different languages. You know, we laboured the point a bit. You know, we weren't very scientific, but we thought it was really important to define where we stood.
But there weren't bands that were doing that until, I guess, like Smash came along, I guess, a couple of years later that were doing that kind of thing. But there wasn't that kind of band around at the time, right?
Oh, the Manics.
The Manics. That's true. That's true.
Manics.
You know, and you know, we had a bit of a checkered history with the Manics. You know,
right.
They took a bit seriously, didn't they?
They were playing the Falcon in Camden or on venues like that, and they were coming up, next generation behind us, kind of thing. And I think they dissed us a few times, but gratifyingly, I found out later actually they really liked the band. So,
good.
You know, but you have to say what you have to say, don't you?
Of course you do.
No, I think the Manics are an absolutely brilliant example of a very clever political band.
I mean,
brilliant. you know.
The first sort of.
And you know, they were concerned with the same things we were. So I've always loved them. I don't care what they say.
Yeah. Do you do you have like a favorite sort of gig from back then? Is there one where you think, I really enjoyed that one, or were they all just great?
Oh, they were all fantastic, but you know those early gigs downstairs at the Clarendon,
right? So
where you're
not necessarily the biggest one, but it's just
no, not necessarily, because the bigger the gig, the more nerves there are.
Right. Yeah.
So playing, you know, they're brilliant while you're doing them, but playing Reading the first time, gobsmacking, absolutely brilliant. We were first on, and you could just see kids running towards the stage, you know, and it just filled up and filled up and filled up, and it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Next time we were much higher up the bill, absolutely brilliant again. You know, I loved all of those gigs, but they are a bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's a different beast, isn't it?
Glastonbury as well, you know.
Yeah.
And they were all fantastic, but the early gigs where you're kind of hanging on to new songs by the skin of your teeth.
Yeah.
And you're just feeling, we've got it.
Yeah.
We've got it. We've nailed it. We've nailed being in this band, and it's just going to get better.
Yeah.
That kind of feeling is kind of irreplaceable, you know.
Yeah, I guess when you know that something's coming, but you're still on the cusp, maybe it's
exactly. But I can't be objective about any gigs.
Yeah,
really. I suppose in that kind of context, then the best gig we ever played was the reunion gig at
we were going to go.
That was my next question. Yeah.
Yeah.
How was it to play those? How were the reunion gigs?
Well, the reunion gigs were absolutely brilliant. I think we did it exactly right. The first one we did basically a private party.
That's right. It's like a warm-up gig, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, in Richmond, you know, the kind of nearly Twickenham, the kind of epicenter of where it all started.
Yeah.
And that was fine. It was a little bit ragged around the edges.
Right. Yeah.
Mark was very, very late.
Right.
To the point where we weren't even sure if we were going to be able to break.
Whoa. Okay.
Anyhow, so then the next one obviously was up at the Adelphi in Hull.
Yeah.
Again, it's a venue that we had kind of fond memories of from back in the day.
Yeah.
And it was a good long way from London, and it's a very small gig, but very loud and very hot and very sweaty. Perfect.
I think there's some. You can find it on YouTube, can't you? Some of those.
You can find the whole gig from beginning to end on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's a little bass centric because basically the camera was up on the on the PA right next to Morgan, so you can see it vibrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it will give you a really good idea of how mad that was. It was a brilliant gig. And the dressing room is still caked in black mold, exactly as it was
as you remember
20 odd years ago from the last time we played it, 30 odd years ago. And then Shepherd's Bush. We had a production rehearsal before that where we had a bunch of kids up from Falmouth College,
right,
who were working with our former driver, Stephen Brown, owner-operator, who used to drive us everywhere.
Yeah.
And then got bored waiting around at gigs, so taught himself to do lights.
Right.
And now teaches stage production.
Oh, really?
Theatre, stage tech at Falmouth College in
That's
Cornwall.
pretty cool.
And he brought a bunch of students up, and they all helped him run the light show.
Oh, amazing!
Basically,
yeah. That's a nice sort of. But that's a nice. That's a nice link back.
We just handed that all over. We just handed that all over to Steve, and he took care of it. We didn't have to worry about it.
It's a fair old. It was a fair old production, wasn't it? I remember looking at it, thinking, "No, this is like you haven't just thrown it all together. It's like it was a proper."
No. Yeah, but it was the students who did it. They animated everything, you know, and listened to the songs from the records.
Yeah.
To kind of get all the timing right and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they devised the intro and the outro and all the rest of it. And that Stranger Things music that we started with, that's not the Stranger Things music.
Right.
Even though you listen and you think, oh, it really is. Yeah. It's not. It's Morgan. Morgan just did it on a couple of synths. You know.
Yeah, because the whole Stranger Things has given you an opportunity for that new T-shirt, hasn't it?
For the T-shirt design, yeah.
Yeah, we are possibly pushing the limits. So I haven't got one of those. I must get one. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that gig was brilliant. Not least because, you know, as a band, we were all basically 30 years older with 30 years more experience.
Yeah.
Had you kept in touch much in between? Had you kept in touch much?
On and off.
Yeah.
Kind of yes and no. I mean, there was literally a decade, almost a decade, more than a decade, when I didn't talk to any of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just because we were off doing different things.
Yeah, it happens. Life happens.
You know, but we had certainly reconnected quite a bit in the years running up to that reunion.
Yeah.
You know, and I would get the occasional phone call from Mark.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What was the reasoning behind it? Just let's do it, sort of thing.
Yeah, it was just let's do it. I think. Yeah. You know, it was. It's been long enough. We all get on now.
Yeah, I think people really wanted it to happen, didn't they? Like the fans really wanted it to happen. So.
But also, we have been kind of gently mulling it over for a while, that kind of thing, and also I think Morgan discovered a whole kind of treasure trove of stuff from when we were touring, things like, you know, 48 plus hours worth of high 8 video,
right?
You know, we saw a rough cut of that. I mean, Morgan, bless him, had to kind of trawl through all of that. We saw a rough cut of that stuff of more than 3 hours, and that was brilliant. Anyway, so you know, who knows? You might see that in some form.
Yeah,
sooner
hope
or later.
so.
Well,
and you know, and remixing First of Too Many, of course.
Oh yeah, that's just
got a reissue, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And but it is a total remix. Morgan basically rebuilt that from the bottom up.
Really?
From the original.
I'll have to have a good listen because
the original tapes. Yeah. So we haven't replaced any of the music, but it sounds so much better.
Yeah. I have a good listen
because it's actually produced by one of us. It's produced by Morgan.
Yeah.
Who's very good in that department.
Yeah.
It turns out. We all need that anyway.
So after you did the gigs, did you know it was just going to be 2 gigs and that was it, or did you think we might? Did you ever think let's keep going, or?
It was very clear to us that we could have done 5 or 6 gigs.
Yeah, absolutely.
We could have done a short tour, you know, from.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Scotland. But there was no thought of writing new music or anything like that.
We did write or adapt one of Mark's songs, Lost Honey, which we put out as a single, a commemorative single.
Yeah,
was available around that gig.
Yeah.
But not as a band. No. Yeah. I mean, Mark was still completely dedicated to Dead Cuts.
Oh yeah, he's doing his Dead Cuts thing. Yeah.
You know, Mark was, and Morgan has got his own thing going on. Cass has got his own thing going on.
Yeah.
I've got a full-time job. I don't have the time in my life to
sure.
And you know, being in a band is a kind of 100% thing. It's you know, all or nothing, and you've got to be prepared to work at it. So I don't think there was really any thought of that, although we did discuss a couple of possibilities for gigs afterwards. You know, there were a couple of possibilities. There were offers from the kind of people who run what you call legacy gigs.
Yeah. Oh, right.
You know, okay. Those big all dayers, that kind of thing. So
I mean,
some talk. but it never came to anything, you know.
Yeah.
What's your take on the whole kind of 90s nostalgia thing that seems to be happening at the moment? Like this podcast is a good example.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your take on all of that?
Do you think it's just time?
What do you think? What do you think my take is? I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So do we.
Gives me an opportunity to kind of relive my glory days.
Yeah,
they were great. They were great times. The world today is a even shittier place than it was then.
I agree.
So
you
know, I think it's good to it's good to have good memories, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think there's nothing wrong with nostalgia.
Not at all.
Yeah.
You know,
we're gonna let you go in a moment because we've been keeping you far too long. Thank you so much. Do you want to ask the final question, Neil?
There's so much more to say.
I know. We wanted to ask about Three Colours Red and everything as well.
Maybe we'll do another one on Three Colours.
Maybe we'll do another on Three Colours Red. Maybe
I remember it.
Yeah. Just I have a question. Well, as you're the first, but it's a question that I am going to ask to everyone we have on it. But if you could have been in like another band at the time, who would it have been? Sort of which one? Who was Snuff?
Snuff.
Yeah. Nice.
Right.
No question.
Straight in there with Snuff.
The original incarnation, when we were playing with them, with the most jaw-dropping band. I absolutely adored them, and they featured
in what way?
Oh God,
I'm just looking for my Snuff record.
Yeah.
No, I mean
I've got
records up there. Yeah,
you know, they were an incredible live band, utterly tight, utterly melodic, utterly brilliant. Just amazing. And such
enough said.
Night.
Yeah.
Snuff said.
Just
Snuff said. Nicely done.
Just one more question I didn't ask. Do you have like a favourite Senseless Things album? Which was the one that you were really proud? Obviously proud of them all, but is there one where you think? Because we
obviously I'm going to say I love them all for different reasons.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier, and we like because they really evolved over time, didn't they? I think.
You can see it. Yeah.
You know, Empire of the Senses for me was a great album, but.
See, I love Empire of the Senses. Yeah. I think, you know, it's some of my best guitar work.
Yeah.
I love the songs.
Big sounding songs, weren't they? Big sounding songs.
Mark was a much more sophisticated songwriter by then. Yeah. I think the production on that is still really good, really holds up.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm going to have to say Postcard CV.
Yeah,
because it just, that's the one that encapsulates the headlong rush between getting together and starting to play gigs and pulling together that first set of songs for your first album.
Yeah.
You know, I think basically the first full album is the one that any band is really going to be judged by posterity.
Yeah.
Because that's what you pour your heart.
Yeah, that's your life experience in that first one, isn't it? That's where you put your life experience.
You know, you've got your, as people say, you've got your life. Your whole life to write your first LP, and then a year to write the second.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, luckily we had loads left over, so the first was fine.
Yeah, and you had Mark's voice.
You must have been so young as well when Postcard CV was made, right? I mean, I was thinking I was only 14, but you must 21, 22. Is that right?
1989. I was born in 1965. 24. I was.
Okay, it's still that.
I was like 5 years older than the rest of them.
Right.
So, at least.
Yeah.
So Postcard CV for me. Plus, recorded and mixed by Harvey Birrell, who was our sound engineer live a lot in subsequent years. And so, I mean, he knew us really well. We basically did that in 2 days at Southern Studios. Southern Studios being home of, you know, a lot of hardcore and industrial and early and London dub classics.
Yeah.
John Loder's studio, and it was a great place to record and a great place to mix. But basically, you know, I remember sleeping under the mixing desk.
Yeah.
Because it was just so exhausting.
Yeah.
You know, but that was like, I can't remember, 14 songs in 2 days, I think. Anyway.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's our essence, our real essence.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why it's really.
I think it comes across. I did think of one more. Sorry to get one more question. Mark's voice for me was always, and still is. So right, Mark's voice, it's still one of the best voices out there. It's just they're so distinctive. It's so. That's not like. Well, no, because I've seen you live, and he sounds the same live. So that's just his voice. It's just insane, isn't it? The way he sings or sang. He was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what the question is because I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most not underrated because we all rate it, but his vocal was like incredible.
Yeah, I agree, and I think his voice is unique. Of course,
yeah,
it is.
Absolutely.
He doesn't sound like anyone else.
No.
And I really miss him.
Yeah,
he's and it was, what was really great about the reunion gig was that the voice was still there.
Yeah,
it really
absolutely.
was.
Yeah.
And
well, you can hear that on his dead cut stuff as well. He's still got that voice.
Absolutely. I mean, he was still writing brilliant songs.
Yeah.
All the way through, and like I say, I mean, he was a fantastic talent.
Yeah.
And just utterly dedicated to what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to end. Thank you so much. We've absolutely loved doing this.
It's been a real pleasure.
No, for us.
Thank you so much.
For us.
Yeah. So that was our interview with Ben Harding from the Senseless Things. We hope you enjoyed it. Dave, you weren't in the interview, but you've listened to it, obviously. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So hopefully people out there are going to enjoy it too.
I think so. He's a super interesting guy.
Yeah, I just had a few notes just to close it off.
Okay,
really.
You got some notes. Go on.
Yeah, I've got some notes.
Get your notes.
Professional. Yeah. It's not ChatGPT this time, is it? These are your own.
Well, I had to get some help.
A bit of assistance. Yeah, of course. Understandable, yeah.
But yeah, the first thing, this was the first interview, and just thought, wow, what a nice guy,
Did you write "wow" in your notes?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was.
Really how many exclamation marks did you write down?
But it wasn't what I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know what you were expecting.
Well, I think because it was our first interview as well, because it was longer than we thought it was going to be, because it was just so interesting. When we initially did we came up with the idea of doing interviews, I think we thought they were going to be like 20 minutes, half an hour long, but you can't with these sort of people because they're so interesting and have so much interesting stuff to say.
And the brilliant thing was Ben really seemed to enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, he loved it.
I wasn't expecting
I hope
that.
He did. Yeah, he could have just been putting that on, but no, I'm pretty sure he enjoyed it. So I think he likes talking about that part of his life. I think it means a lot to him still.
Yeah, another pedantic point about what he was saying. He was saying that song, "Homophobic Asshole," he thought it was his only.
Ass? I don't know.
He was saying ass.
Yeah, no, it's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's just spelt like that, though, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah, but he was saying that was his only writing credit. I think he has a credit on "Hold It Down," and that riff
to
"Hold It Down" is really good as well. And I can't believe he forgot that.
Yeah, because that is that riff's iconic. Actually, probably more than "Homophobic Asshole" for me. I think that riff, "Hold It Down."
You sure he's got a credit on that? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, he definitely plays the guitar on it, and that riff is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one you want to sort of learn as a guitar player and play.
Right, there you go. Hold
Let's have
it
a
down.
look. You carry on. I'll check the sleeve.
He's checking it. Well, maybe if Ben's watching this, he can let us know in the comments.
Yeah, put a comment in the Facebook group.
Did you get a writing credit for Hold It Down?
Yeah.
If you've come up with that riff, you should have.
Yeah.
The other thing I picked up on was, talking about how the band were feminist.
Orange vinyl people.
Nice. Isn't that yellow?
Orange.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. My other point was picking up on how he was saying how the band were feminist, and I remember.
Wait, can I interrupt? Sorry, the credit on the record is Mark Kedge and Morgan Nichols.
Well, let us know anyway.
Yeah.
Ben.
Yeah, I'm going by.
Or
Spotify.
anyone from the Senseless Things, if you can confirm.
Well, that's what it says on there. So,
confirm.
Okay, go on, Dave.
Ben said they were feminists, and that reminded me of something Luke said to me years and years ago. And you said to me, "You're a feminist."
Yeah.
And I always remembered that. At that time, I thought, "Hang on, how can we be feminists?" But since then, I've considered myself to be a feminist as well, despite
I think
using
you said pharmacist.
feminist.
1 second.
even though I did use the C word in episode 1.
You did.
Feminists can use.
Is that okay?
Word, it's fine.
We'll
keep
that then. That was quite an interesting part of the interview, I thought, where he spoke about the whole just being in touch with your sort of feminine side and writing songs about it.
What the thing I took away from the interview, and I don't know if it was like his intention or not, but the kind of the picture that he painted of Mark was really, really interesting, and I saw like loads of parallels to like the picture that's been painted over the years of Kurt Cobain.
Right.
Like the idea, it's like what I mean by that is like that kind of total like determination and like total belief in your own in success, right? There's a famous story of, you know, Kurt going into Geffen Records and saying, you know, I want to be the biggest band in the world.
Yeah, because a lot of people,
a tiny band.
Sorry for cutting in, but yeah, a lot of people get the idea that Kurt was quite apathetic and didn't want any of that, but that's nonsense. You know, he ambition, went after that,
and he did the hard work to do it. Like, you know, he was sending out cassettes and doing it. And I think like the way that Ben told it, I think that was what Mark was doing, right? It was like really
he was
pushing
focused,
it and putting the work in.
And he always was, because I remember even in the later days of Dead Cuts and stuff, he's still sort of laser focused on making his band at that time a success.
So I don't know, that's the thing that kind of struck me when I was kind of listening back to it. I didn't pick up on it at the time, but when I listened back to the interview, that kind of made me think of that kind of aspect of how I perceive kind of Kurt Cobain when like Nirvana.
Yeah, these things,
you know?
These bands that obviously there is some luck involved, but most of it's not by accident, it's by design. You have to have someone driving bands like that, you know.
Yeah.
Whether they meant to or not, they both. You didn't see that in them. I mean, that's why it was surprising, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. That's what I mean. Like with Kurt, people have this idea that he'd never wanted to be famous and he doesn't like any of that part of it. But that's just bullshit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I took away from it. Neil, any comments on that interview before we finish?
Well, I just found it super interesting, and not much more to add that you two haven't already covered. But what's exciting about interviews to come is just these people are just really interesting people and heroes from our childhood. You know, it's quite an honour to be able to do that, I think.
Yeah, and you can join us for the ride. So if you want to, as we said before, like, subscribe, whatever you do on these kind of things. Spread the word of mouth. Anything else we need to say?
No, yeah, just that really. Like, we're trying to build a community, so Facebook group's grown nicely, so join that. I'll leave links to all of this stuff. But yeah,
and don't be afraid to start posting and stuff. Start a thread. Get on there. Be a leader. Be part of it. We're just we're just the hosts.
If you're watching on YouTube, then subscribe to the channel. Whichever other medium you're listening on, then do whatever you need to do. Leave a review. It all helps other people find this podcast so that we can grow it into something good.